but we did a rebranding of brands that already came from a place where they actually had worked, right? So we worked in evolutions, in rebrandings, not
Yeah.
just like a brand from the start. So what we try to do is um, keep the things that are really distinctive if of the already made audio branding, but evolve every single aspect and try to improve it. You know, the idea is not to destroy what's already built. The idea is to keep building up.
Welcome to Audio Branding, the hidden gem of marketing. Sound plays a more important role in human behavior and our decision-making than you may realize. In this podcast, I'll help you understand the art and science of sound so you can better influence others in business and your life. I'm your host, Jody Krangle. Let's delve a little deeper. Here's the second part of my interview with Drop Music Branding. So then I have to ask, how do these things evolve? So if you've been working, for instance, for this TV station for 10 years, how has the audio brand for them changed over the years?
Okay, who wants to go? I love that question.
It's a very good question. It can have like a very long answer.
I'm not going to speak.
But I'm
Go for
going
it.
to make it short. I'm going to make it short. Well, the medium itself, the TV here and everywhere, it's sinking. You know what it's sinking? It's going behind. You know, and that's something. So as visuals, they have like less money invested, and that happens. But with the music, speaking of the music, it's always being bold and a kind of dubstepy or maybe
shocker,
yeah, like stingers, very short, but very shocking, and that was like consistent for 10 years. And nowadays it depends on the season. Maybe it's summer and they tell us, okay, something more chill or more like that. But in general meanings, it's always like sharp and maybe it's kind of dark. And I don't know, it was pretty stable. What do you think?
And also it changed according to the season. They might change the colors of the graph. They might change the vibe of the music. But it's always, like Mauro says, it's always loud. It's always really compressed. It's always really strong and up tempo.
I got to add something that these guys are too humble to say they are great musicians. So I'm going to say it. It's like,
Of course.
it's like this brand. I'm going to explain a little bit of how we work in this brand. This brand changed their IDs, on-air IDs every season, right? So we have 4 audio brandings every year for the last 10 years. So although we feel like we are part of this brand already, you know, it's like the actual evolution of the brand audio branding identity from this brand. It's our evolution as professionals as well, right? So if you listen to the first audio branding we did, it
10 years
wasn't
ago,
that good,
with
right?
a computer and
yeah.
and nothing else.
No, don't say it. So it's always reflected this boldness and this personality that the brand has, but the evolution, it's also our evolution, right?
I see, yeah.
So that's a very weird brand because it really changes all the time. It doesn't have like an audio logo or something that you can evolve, maintain this melody, but evolve the sounds. You know, this is like all over the place, but the consistency is in the boldness and in us, right?
Yes.
So you get kind of always the sound of us doing it.
Yes.
That's
consistency. Yes.
That's consistency. It's not an audio logo. It's the musician.
Yeah, but you know the competition. This is Telefe. It's another channel here. Has this dun 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 this audio logo,
Yeah.
And they have it like since the 80s, 90s. I don't know.
Yeah.
But Channel 13, El 13, as we call it,
The one we do.
it's always changing. There's no hook like melodic thing.
Because they are polarizing, it's weird. It's like there's brand strategy is opposed on that as well.
Yes.
And they get like the consistency comes from us doing it and changing is consistently changing, which is also consistent.
Okay, yes.
But
That's branding. That's branding.
So people will want to hear what's coming up next.
right. It creates something
Yeah.
different. So strategy.
That's really interesting. When you're developing these for people over a long period of time, is there another brand maybe that you've worked on where you've evolved the sonic logo, or the brand has remained fairly consistent, but the sound has just evolved just a little bit over the years? Is there anyone that you would talk to like about?
Well, yeah, as we said, we've been really understanding what we were doing, from 2018. So there's 4 years since then. And we haven't done a rebranding of a brand that we've already done, because everything that we did from that point is still in being used. So no,
And still fairly new. Yeah.
Yes.
right, because you actually create these things to last. It's not like
Yes.
it's
Sure.
absolutely
Like a logo.
absolutely
visual
like
logo.
a logo.
Yes.
You don't want to change your logo all the time, right? So, but we did a rebranding of brands that already came from a place where they actually had worked, right? So we worked in evolutions, in rebrandings, not
Yeah.
just like a brand from the start. So what we try to do is keep the things that are really distinctive of the already made audio branding, but evolve every single aspect and try to improve it. The idea is not to destroy what's already built. The idea is to keep building up.
Sure. So it's an evolution
Yes.
rather than a complete
Well,
change.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, of course. But yes, we made, of course, brands from scratch. And it's another kind of work, because you don't have no reference besides maybe the competition or the market. But yeah, we are not that old that they had replaced our audio branding yet. Yet.
Well, the years are going to come and go. So yeah, I'm sure you will see that eventually.
I hope so.
But
I hope so.
yeah, I have no doubt. You guys are very good at what you do. So I have no doubt that people will come back to you to refresh things when they need to.
Thank you, John.
But I wanted to ask you actually to get into a little bit of the difference between synth musicians, or like, synth sampling, I guess. Music sampling as opposed to human musicians. So is there a place where you would use a synth as opposed to a human musician, and vice versa on your audio branding projects?
Well, I recently heard a phrase that it was kind of cool from an artist here, Gustavo Cerati. He said, there's nothing more human-like like using machines in music. And I was like, okay, yeah, the computer was made by
That's
humans,
interesting.
right? So it's kind of, they live between each other and they live together, I think. But
I really like that.
yeah,
that
it's
way
a good
of
one.
Thinking
Yes.
about it. Well, it really depends on the time, the budget, and the genre. Usually, in our decision, we really try to play all the melodies. We really try to play as much as we can, but sometimes we're playing on the synths, sometimes we're playing on the MIDI controller, sometimes we're playing actual instruments. But at the bottom line, it really depends on the genre, the time that we have to make the project, and the budget that we have. Because, for example, it's really fun and really time consuming and takes a lot of job to track a whole drum set. So if you don't have the time to do it, you cannot do it. Because if you don't do it right, you need to edit a lot, and time is money. And then the budget.
Yeah, I think that we also think of the strategy in terms of what we want to the end result to sound like, a human or perfect or a little bit of both. We basically, I think that we're in a point in history where you play the computer. It's another instrument. You can change so many things about what is happening there, musically speaking, that it's also an expression. The only thing that changes is the interface, the user interface. The piano is a piano, and if the keys trigger different sounds, it's something else, and there's no synth musician, because we are always being human, right, about it. Although I think that when I consider that when we are doing like electronic music, right, and one of us starts playing a real instrument, you know what I mean, like a real drums or something like that, which I think that's what the question was about. It adds like a different dimension to the music because of those imperfections that human imperfections. My hands sound different each stroke I go to the drums. It hit. So I think that it's more of an aesthetics, about how we want to sound at the end of the session.
But yes, I like the idea of combining. And as Gabo said, if you have this super, square, and then you add this bongo with this micro shifting at the tempo and these mistakes, they complete and in some way you bring life to something that was lifeless.
Yeah.
Unless you want it lifeless, maybe you need something very, really
very precise.
Yeah. So it's a matter of what are you searching for, mostly.
Sure. Yeah.
We are starting to get a little bit of our toes deep in artificial intelligence and music. We're starting to experiment a little bit with that also, and also like with auto-generated stuff. I'm trying to provide the less input possible to get the more amount of result. It's still like really wonky. It's really hard to break apart. It's kind of hard.
I was going to ask you.
It's kind of hard and a kind of an eureka moment when you get
it's
a musical idea out of it. But it's really fun because all of a sudden it's like having an actual player that makes mistakes. It makes a lot of mistakes. But
it doesn't repeat itself.
Yeah,
so
it doesn't repeat itself.
You put play and they are like interacting with each other and playing by themselves. And maybe the other day we were making like this chilling yoga vibe set with bells and there were all notes left to chance and they popped like randomly, but making this sequence that was not a sweet sequence because it never repeated itself. So you can record that output for 2 hours and then you have 2 hours of meditation. I don't know. There are so many uses, to expand through time your place. Yeah, and also they are like work in progress.
Yeah.
And there you put this project, and it's like this. Imagine a painting, but it was always moving, like the sky. I don't know, limitless.
Yeah, It's really fascinating.
Yes.
What can be done. Are you looking for ways to improve your company's or podcast's impact? You'd be surprised how powerful the use of an intentional audio branding strategy can be. Want to know more? I have a free downloadable PDF that gives you my 5 tips for implementing an intentional audio strategy at voiceoversandvocals.com/audio-branding-strategy. That location does ask to put you on a mailing list, just to send you updates on when the new podcasts come out. But if you really don't want to give your email out, I understand. Just contact me directly. My email is all over my website, and I'll make sure you get that PDF without needing to sign up anywhere. If you do sign up, though, you also get access to a resources section called The Studio, where I have videos, white papers, and PDFs, discounts from my guests, and snippets of audio from my guests that no one else gets to hear. So maybe it's worth your while. Totally up to you. And of course, if you're looking for voiceovers, you can get in touch with me about that too. Now, back to the podcast. I was going to ask you also where you thought the future of sound was going, and it sounds like AI is definitely a direction.
Yeah.
So you're using that now to come up with new ideas for music of your own, and then just sort of extrapolating from what the AI gives you, like bits and pieces and things like that? Or you're actually using it for auto-generated stuff for hours?
Yeah, more like for fun right now, or maybe for assistance and in some way, but not for, bringing up ideas. More like we divide our hours in the studio by the fun part, which is testing the new synth and
experimentation.
Bringing up the volume and have fun in the studio. And in that moments, we talk about all these things, and Dalmiro comes and tells you, "Oh, I made this device that makes this. Oh, I made that drums. I don't know." So that's when we.
Yeah, the thing is that it takes quite a lot of time to kind of set it up, get going, and maybe like starting getting something useful that sometimes it's faster. Like I know what I want. It's just go and play it.
Can I add
see,
something?
yeah.
Because I'm going to be a little bit of a translator here, because the guys are doing something that blows my mind. What they are doing is like they are playing with another musician, which is the computer, right? The AI. Picture like a being that can play music with them, right?
Yeah, I don't know if it qualifies as AI. These are like.
No, not the devices.
We give these parameters and these LFOs and these things.
Okay.
It's more that technical thing that you tweak and make some chains of effects and stuff.
Yeah, okay.
But you can speak to it.
So it's like running a computer program.
Right. It's not an AI, but it's like something that it's randomly making choices, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which you don't know. So it's like something that is playing with you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and which plays a lot of instruments as well. And it's like what
we provide
comes to my
a very
mind.
specific set of rules, though.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
there are boundaries. You can have it without any boundaries. It gets really crazy. But the idea is to provide a really specific set of rules, but
they play in a little sandbox.
Yeah,
yes.
many enough so that they can have a way to play and to kind of
So you
surprise you.
give the computer like a guide.
Yep.
We want to play in A, right?
Mm-hmm.
Something like that.
Yeah, tonalities.
And go for it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how, which is crazy, because it's like I can explain how crazy is that, right? So you
Yeah,
I
the future.
think it's the future. Absolutely, it's like this is going to be a revolution in all aspects. When I saw they were doing that, and DALI and that kind of stuff, is like, okay, this.
I would love something immersive, maybe like 3D sound that might react to what you are seeing. Like imagine having a video camera feed like from your glasses, and this AI is making like your perfect soundtrack for the world, and it's all like something that you never
In
heard
real
before.
time?
In real time.
That
I
would
don't
be
know.
I
very
would love
cool.
something like that.
Would be cool. But speaking about future and sound, also VR is a very big thing, and immersive, and
Very much, yeah.
I don't know. There's so much going on technology these days in every field. So
Wait, you meant like soundtrack of your life in real time, something like that?
Something in real
That
time.
was-
that takes
Yeah.
feed
We
from
all
your
need a running
environment.
soundtrack, don't we?
That would be crazy.
yes,
That would be so cool.
Yeah, we won't work anymore. In that case.
No.
Yeah. So why do you think sound is important? I mean, it's in our daily lives, but in a lot of places, people don't really pay as much attention to it as they could. So as a way to sort of explain to people why this is something they should pay attention to, why do you think it's important in our lives?
It provides so much information. Like leaving music aside, because music it's something for fun, for enjoyment. Sound provides so much information about your surrounding that it would be, well, like you might ask something like for example, people that are blind, they rely on sound so much. Like we can see, we cannot even imagine it. And for example, the people that cannot hear, they rely on the eyes so much and they are missing so much. It's immense. Like it's one of the really, really important. Well, every sense is important, but sound and eyes, it's like the most. It's what let us enjoy it and see and hear our surroundings, and we can do it from very far away. It's not like we like touch. You need to be close to something to touch. With your eyes on your ears, you could be really far away, and you get that information.
Yeah, I think that it affects you in ways that most people don't realize, as you said, Shodi. I think noise pollution is a really thing that we need to pay more attention to.
Very much so, yeah.
I think there are a lot of stress that we accumulate, because of noises and our frequencies that our minds like an antenna receives, and we need to pay attention to that. I think that it's key for our well-being.
And the thing about audio is like it enters your brain from beside, from the back. It's not like visuals that they're there.
You can turn away.
And you see, and I don't know why people don't pay attention to the audio when in productions. There's always it's always the last step and the last thing to check, but it's so important. Or maybe like we spoke the other day with you, the acoustics of the places in schools and in your home. You need to communicate verbally, so you need to listen to the person to not begin an argument because you didn't get to understand each other. The other thing that I wanted to say in the counterpart of the other side of noise pollution, I've been trying out this thing that it's called sound healing, and I have a couple of friends that they bought like these gongs and this I don't know how to call it in English, but it's like
cuenco.
Yeah, it's ethnical like music with this specific kind of instruments, and which actually are, you lay down and they make this performance. It's like a music piece for, I don't know, 1 hour maybe. And it's also a journey. And what sound healing is exactly that, with vibration and harmony and dissonance. And you can really work and get into mind stages very, very deeply. And you really, when the journey is done, you can't even move your arms because you reach like this relaxed level that it's amazing, and that's very therapeutical. Is that a word?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So yeah, sound. Everybody who is listening, pay more attention, please. It's great.
Yeah, it affects you more than you think.
Thank you so much to the people that have taken the time to leave an honest review of this podcast. I know it takes a bit of effort to do, and I know how busy and, let's face it, kind of stressful our lives are right now. So it means a lot that you take the time to leave some feedback. Ran MCK writes, "How important is sound?" Jody covers all frequencies of sound through her research and her guests. Her interviews with Tal and Hamish provide insight on how audio can be heard, not just listened to. Jody's voice keeps you listening and want to hear more. I have become a better listener. Thank you, Ran MCK. I really appreciate your kind words. Now, back to the show. So what are you guys working on right now that you can talk about?
That we can talk about. Did you say something? Well, we're working with several offices from Future Brand in Latin America. I think we are actually right now working with Peru, Colombia, Chile in active projects, which is great. Coming from the pandemic. Really were challenging times for musicians.
Definitely,
For
yeah.
everybody, yeah.
For everybody, but musicians, I think that, well, I don't want to start over there. So let's go, don't go to that place.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're working on a brand in education. Actually, we're going to start that project today. We are working with, we are going to be working with a mall. We are working with retail stores. So, yeah, all the branding is getting...
And also we're finishing a pharmacy. Actually.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, like...
Oh,
Yeah.
wonderful. Okay. Yeah. So I'm curious about the mall in particular, like the brands, which I guess would be inside the mall. So like the stores, I'm assuming. Is it for the mall itself or for stores within the mall?
Well, we haven't started that one, but I think it's going to be for both, for communications, like
Okay.
social media, TV, and all that kind of brand communications, but for the retail, like the actual place as well.
But also the identity part is always there. Now your logo, the signature, and those assets that we deliver, they're always there. But I'm curious about if there will need any music for the actual place,
Like
because
for the food
they
court and
will
stuff.
need like hours of music though. So I don't know. We will see.
Yeah, I was wondering, because each retail outlet within the mall has a different feel depending on
Yeah.
the brand, right? So if someone's walking in the store, I mean, what are your thoughts on how you create an environment that would make them more willing to want to stay there for a little bit? I don't know. I
I
mean,
can't wait to start that project. My mind is like going bananas because of those things. I'm so
Yeah.
passionate about it. So
Well, there's
we'll
actually
see.
for retail. There's actually two approaches. We can that kind of curate like a playlist of already recorded artists. Like for example, because it really depends on the time. But for example, making 24 hours of music takes a lot of time.
Yeah,
and
sure
also
it
you don't
does,
need
yeah.
custom-made music for 24 hours. You need
Exactly.
Justin Bieber. You need music from.
Yeah, and you need to be aware of burning out the people inside and working inside the mall.
Yeah.
So it's we need to be responsible about it as
that's
well.
a big
Yeah, and
job.
also have like a segmented like morning, noon, afternoon.
Right. Wow.
Yeah,
That
that
would
would
be amazing.
be great. That would be so branding. Like yes.
Yeah.
I am looking forward to hearing more about this when you have more to share, because it sounds like quite the project.
Yeah, and also if we really need to make like hours longs of music, well, that auto-generated stuff could
You're
come
going to
handy.
make
Yeah,
it
maybe
work.
your AI can help. Yeah.
It
Yeah,
could
like,
be- I like that.
yeah.
Never, it changes everything because it's a computer running all the
Yeah.
time.
Technology is a tool. You cannot fight it. At the end of the day, it's going to take lots of jobs. Like the DALI 2 thing, it's unbelievable. Like for making mock-up, like you're brainstorming, you try to make like 6 different logos like in 1 hour, and you can make in 1 hour, you can make, I don't know, thousands of different iterations of a logo. So
Yeah.
you cannot fight that. You need to try to learn how to use it as a tool.
You can't be
That's what it
against
is.
it. You can't be against it because there's no
There's no stopping it.
there's no competition at all. It's like you need to I think that is like guiding. The guidance, the question is going to be the
Yep.
important part.
Yeah,
The idea.
So
right?
far, DALI 2 is as good as the prompt, and as descriptive the prompt is, the image is going to be better. So you really need to know how to talk to it to get better results or get the result that you're looking for.
Yeah. It sounds really fascinating. And there's so many places that this can go. So I understand what you mean by, not being afraid of the technology and understanding it. to use it in the way,
Embrace
exactly,
it.
in the best way that you possibly can. This has been really educational, guys. I appreciate it a lot. How can people get in touch with you if they'd like to learn more about you and what you do?
Well, they can connect with us on socials, at Raw Music Branding, at LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, all those. We have our web, dropmusicbranding.com. We are out there, we're always up for chatting about audio branding and stuff, and we're here, open to business.
Sure, yeah. And I've seen one of your lives on LinkedIn, Gabo, so that was a lot of fun to participate and see.
That was the first one, so thanks.
Yeah, you should do more.
Okay. Coming from you, that's a lot. Thank you. Which episode is this one? 1,000?
We'll see. But thank you so much, guys.
Thanks, Jody. Thanks for coming.
It was so fun. Thank you, Jody.
Thanks a lot. Well, that's the end of this episode. Thanks for listening. And if you like what you heard, why not tell a friend about this podcast? It's available in all the usual locations. Until next time.